Welcome, everybody.
Thank
Jeremy,
you.
you're on.
Thank you, everyone, for arriving to Newark Arts Festival 2020. And this is the very first panel for this 4-day extravaganza. The Newark Arts Festival is produced by Newark Arts, and I have the privilege of being Jeremy Johnson, the Executive Director of Newark Arts. The festival is also in partnership with the Newark Museum of Art, and our platinum sponsors are Prudential and Verizon. I'm very pleased to share with you before we get into our panel discussion, and by the way, our panel discussion today is Public Art for the People. If that's what you're registered for, this is that panel, Public Art for the People. I'm really pleased to share with you a longtime supporter of Newark Arts from Prudential, Nicole Butler, who I've known for many, many years in her capacity as fundraiser, as grant maker, as a stakeholder for all that's good about Newark. And we're thrilled that as a representative of Prudential, she's here today to say hello. And we really thank Prudential for their support of the arts overall in this great city. Nicole, I hope you'll share a few words with us right now. Welcome.
Thank you, Jeremy, for that kind introduction. We will not go into the number of years, so we've been friends. As Jeremy said, I'm representing Prudential. I serve as the Director of Community Affairs and Partnerships and have the privilege of working with Newark Arts and many other arts institutions in the city of Newark. Prudential is proud to be one of the lead sponsors of the Newark Arts Festival for the 3rd year running. For 18 years, the festival has championed homegrown and nationally recognized artists. It was voted New Jersey's favorite visual arts festival by NewJerseyArts.com in 2018 and 19, fingers crossed 2020. As many of you know, Prudential was founded 145 years ago right here in Newark and remains committed to our headquarters city. We are honored to support Newark Arts' mission to power the arts to transform lives. Arts and culture play a powerful role in the city's economy. Before COVID-19, there were more than 5,000 arts and culture jobs generating $187 million. At the Newark Arts Festival, we see the arts come alive from all disciplines and from the city's diverse artists. We need the arts to bring our communities together and to see the world in a different light. On behalf of Prudential, thank you so much for supporting the arts and being a part of the Newark Arts Festival this year. Have a great session. Thank you.
Thank you, Nicole. We appreciate that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Nicole. Hi, everybody. I'm Lauren LeBeaux, Director of Marketing and Artistic Initiatives at Newark Arts, and I'm so excited to welcome you to day 1 of the Newark Arts Festival. We made it, yay! This panel is very exciting. I'm very happy to have all of our esteemed panelists here today for Public Art for the People, Visibility, Pride, and Community Building. This is a citywide virtual public art tour and conversation, which is taking the place of our usual Murals and Martinis tour. But I have my martini here, just in case you were wondering, of course, it's on brand. So this is Murals and Martinis presents the Public Art for the People. So I will quickly introduce our esteemed panelists before they take it away. This is going to be a very exciting conversation. First, we have Fayemi Shakur, Arts and Cultural Affairs Director for the City of Newark.
Yay.
Malcolm A. Rawling, multifaceted American artist and Chief Operating Officer of Yendor.
Yay.
Rebecca Jampol, curator, designer, co-director of Project for Empty Space and project manager for Four Corners Public Arts.
Yay.
Rorschach Art Collective, an art collective comprised of Newark natives Andre Leon and Robert Ramon.
Yay. Hello.
And finally, we have Mia X, who is a performer and organizer. We're going to have a performance from her later. So thank you so much, all of you, for being here. And quickly, before I let you guys take it away, I want to remind everybody that Newark Arts Festival has partnered with Cool Vines Newark for a signature cocktail. It's called the 1666. You can get your cocktail ingredients at Cool Vines Newark. So thank you so much, Cool Vines Newark, and also Manny Antunes for creating our cocktail. So please enjoy, and without further ado, Miami, take it away.
Good afternoon, everybody. I'm so happy. You know, the Newark Arts Festival is like my favorite event. It really, like, I look forward to it every year. And I just want to congratulate you all on being able to organize it in light of COVID and the pandemic. We're still bringing the spirit of creativity and joy through the internets. And I really feel, you know, the happiness that's coming from everyone. And we're finding ways to just gather and be in community in spite of these challenges. And I just really commend you all and thank you all for being able to organize it. I know it was a lot of hard work. So I'm coming to you live from my kitchen table. And you may hear some children hollering in the background because school is over and they're playing outside. Liberated from virtual learning all day. So I have a few projects that, you know, I really had the pleasure of working on, and for me really exemplify some aspects of storytelling and community engagement that I really look for when I'm working on public art initiatives. And so I just wanted to talk a little bit about some of them, which a lot of folks are familiar with, but I just wanted to really highlight them again this time for anyone who doesn't know about them. So the first slide, if we can pull it up.
Oh, yes, let me provide your full bio. Fayemi Shakur serves as Arts and Cultural Affairs Director for the City of Newark. As a cultural critic and interdisciplinary artist, her writing has been featured in national and international outlets, including the New York Times, Hyperallergic, CNN Style, Vice, the International Review of African American Art, Nueva Luz Photographic Journal, and MFON, Women Photographers in the African Diaspora, among other books and publications.
Awesome, thank you. So the first project I had the pleasure of working on that I wanted to talk about is Magnitude and Bond, which featured artists from Black women, a project-based collective that I created while I had a residency at Project Friendly Space last year. And the participating artists included Dr. Antoinette Ellis Williams, Bimbe Fageyimbo, Margie Johnson, Jennifer Mack Watkins, Jasmine Mans, Kay Desiree Millwood, Queen Moore, Shakaya Norris, Jillian Rock, and muralist Laqua Yawar and Kelly Brevard. So what did I love about this project? It's located, I should say, on Halsey Street and Branford Place, and really began, as I said, as a collaboration between Awuma Violet and the muralists. And we began first within the collective, considering significant figures in our own artist community who we wanted to celebrate as part of the project. So we held brainstorming sessions to consider these key symbols that we wanted to represent in the mural and share those ideas with our muralist team so they could add their design ideas. We also facilitated 2 community painting days, inviting residents to contribute to the mural by painting cowrie shells that were installed at the foundation of the mural. And so the imagery, you know, features our beloved Gladys Barker Grower watching over the community at large, as Bria Knight is featured in knight armor, reminding viewers of the warrior spirit and protective nature of Black women. Come Celebrate With Me, a poem by Lucille Clifton, is highlighted as well as an inspirational reminder of the resiliency of Black women and girls, resisting erasure of their legacies and cultural contributions. And also an image featuring 2 young girls from Haiti, photographed by Queen Moore, is featured, which gazes at viewers with a sense of agency and inquiry that we also really loved. So this symbolism, it contains and references some of the painful traumas of slavery and racism are also subtly combined with elements of nature that LeBeaux is really known for, as well as kente cloth and the cowrie shells, again, which represent the feminine and birth, fertility, and prosperity, which were painted by students and children and members of the community. And the title of the mural is inspired by a quote by poet Gwendolyn Brooks: "We are each other's business. We are each other's harvest. We are each other's magnitude and bond." Next slide. Murals for Justice this summer. Oh, I love this project so much. It was one of the first times after the protest, after being in quarantine for so long, that some of us were able to venture outside and engage in a community action, art action together. And it was organized and supported by the city, but also I really have to give props to Rutgers University's graphic design program, who reached out and said, after being inspired by the mural that everyone saw in DC, folks were reaching out to me left and right asking, could we do one in the city? And at the same time, the mayor had called on me to implement a social justice public art project. So the timing couldn't have been more perfect. And I just said, yes, this is the first one we're gonna do. And the team, it was about a dozen of us that were assembled together to brainstorm within a 2-week period to put together 2 sites on Halsey Street and Martin Luther King Boulevard. Sherwin-Williams was an amazing partner, as well as Project for Empty Space, Salamisha Tillett from New Arts Justice, Newark Downtown District, and so many students and alumni who really helped create the letter forms, sketching it out from 6 a.m. to 12 p.m. on the street. And then the community then came in to help paint. We had DJs there who just provided an uplifting atmosphere. And it was really such a life-affirming and powerful day. If you want to scroll to the next slide. And so I just really appreciated the thoughtfulness that the graphic design program really put into even thinking about the lettering, the text, the font that was used even was created by a Black designer, and it's called Martin. And it was just a joyful day. We had sage burning, music playing, Burgerwalla provided food, and it was a completely volunteer effort. Next slide. We did have an instance of vandalism where someone tried to put skid marks on the mural that says "Abolish White Supremacy." And, we came out immediately and applied a few coats and painted it again. And that "Abolish White Supremacy" statement was really important because it coincided with policy that the city of Newark had just passed, an ordinance banning hate groups from the city, banning racism in the city, as we were also confronting these ideas about defunding the police and police reform, which really led to the announcement also of the closure of the first police precinct, which was the site of the 1967 riots in the city. You can go to the next slide. That site will also become, oh, it's me, hi. That site will also become, a museum and an office of violence prevention. So these statements are not just statements, they're tied to real action and policy. We did find that we had to explain to people what we meant by all Black Lives Matter, to emphasize the importance of trans lives in our LGBT community, and also Black women, and justice for Breonna Taylor, justice for trans lives. And we, as a city, we want to hold each other accountable and really amplify these stories. Next slide. A Call to Peace was another amazing project I had a chance to work on with Salamisha Tillett from New Arts Justice and Paul Farber from Monument Lab. Next slide. It featured artists Manuel Acevedo, Jakaya Booker, Jamel Shabazz, and Sonia Clark. And what I really appreciated was Manuel's activation of that Wars of America monument located in Military Park, which many of us passed by every day but didn't know the history of it. They didn't know that it was funded in part, the artist Borglum was funded in part by the KKK, and how these Confederate era monuments still stand. And it's kind of a forgotten or ignored history that this project in particular called to our attention to ask, what is a timely monument for Newark? This is a conversation we were having last year. And so it's really profound that this year we're starting to see the removal and the topple of Confederate era monuments and how much of a conversation that is in public art now. Next slide. And so Manuel had an art happening called Cam Up, where he covered the monument, and different artists and community members came out and were able to photograph themselves around it and just re-engage and think about that conversation about what that history means and what are our thoughts about racial justice and historic preservation of public art. Next slide. And so lastly, the removal of Columbus is also tied to this conversation around monuments, as we removed Christopher Columbus from Washington Park under the leadership of our mayor, Raz Baraka, who I just feel we're so fortunate to have such an amazing mayor at this time. Can you go to the next slide? So it was around midnight. I got a call from the mayor at 9 p.m. And I had been talking with him about this statue for a while and how problematic it was. And he called me at 9 p.m. and he said, "We're taking it down tonight. Keep it quiet, call a few people, maybe some drummers, and go on down there." And so that's what we did. And it was incredibly more emotional than I imagined it would be. The drummers, the candles, we had, some form of ritual that took place that I think was really important to have. Some of our elders, Baba Zaid Muhammad was there chanting and providing a narrative for the evening. And it was a celebratory moment. We have been talking about the legacy of Christopher Columbus for many, many years, questioning why it still continues to be discussed incorrectly, taught to our children incorrectly. And so having that moment where he was removed from his pedestal was just a profound moment in just shifting the narrative and shifting history and thinking about who we are now and what stories we want to present in our public art collection in the city. And so the park, the mayor announced at the State of the City last night, will be renamed Harriet Tubman Square, and that Columbus statue will be replaced with a monument of Harriet Tubman.
That's amazing, Fayemi. I was literally just about to ask you if that news was true. I heard that and I was like, wait a minute, is it really true?
Yes, it is. Just a few blocks away, Old First Presbyterian Church is an Underground Railroad site where Harriet Tubman actually used to come to our city to help enslaved people seek freedom. And so a lot of people, it's a chance for us to be able to talk about that important historical contribution. And, our city is 85% Black and Latino. And so we want to start thinking about, how our public art reflects the residents who are in the city now and our legacies of struggle and liberation.
Thank you so much. I loved hearing you talk about how intentional each decision that is made behind the scenes. You really don't know when you see a mural go up, all the thought that has gone into it. So thank you so much for that.
Thank you.
And now we are going to move on to our next panelist, Malcolm A. Rawling. is a multifaceted American artist best known for the raw and unfiltered style of urban contemporary Afro-Impressionism, a style which relies heavily on industrial tools and mediums frequently used on inner city streets, such as aerosol, ink, acrylic, airless sprayers, and repurposed materials. Rawlings' inspiration derives from the legacy of American hardship and the triumphant resistance of oppressed people. The artist depicts narratives through condensed symbolism, iconography, and expressions with vibrantly figurative textures. Currently, Rawling is the Chief Operating Officer of the uniquely prestigious Yendor, an artist-owned and operated production house cohort founded by the late, great Rodney Gilbert. Along with his two partners, Kareem Willis and Andrew Binger, Rawling has successfully transitioned the mission and vision of Yendor, ushering in the next generation of visual and performing artists within the city of Newark. Malcolm Rawling, take it away.
Hello, everybody.
Hey,
Hey, Lauren, thank you for that introduction. That was really, really well said. Really well
That was
put
a
together.
mouthful.
It definitely is. Um, so I guess I'm gonna just start with the company as we transition through the first mural. Um, you know, on my honor, which was led by Yasmin De Jesus, and assisted by Matthew Purfoy. The partnership was through the Girl Scouts of Newark, Achieve Academy, Mildred Helms Park, United Parks as one, and also Newark Arts, and also Newark Thrives. So this partnership is a very, very special project. It was started in 2016, and through a bit of hardship, it took a while to get off the ground. But a key player in this was Vicky Fernandez. She was a Girl Scouts leader. She's very familiar with the arts here in Newark. She also works with Victoria and Rutgers, so she was a big help in getting this whole production off the ground and really moving it forward from its original state. And it's very near and dear to my heart, just because it's a clear indication of what community arts looks like and how it can start. Sometimes it can start really slow, but the progression is the beauty within the artistry. If you could just go to the next slide. So throughout the entire piece, there it's a nod to women's empowerment, but also just the ability to be a child, like to have that imagination and to be able to cultivate it and run freely with it for young women. And it's really a testament to Newark and the power that really resides in all of us. Yasmin De Jesus is an artist that has been working with Yendor for a very long time. Her very first her very first mural out of high school in I think 2009 was with Gladys, and she was already mentioned as an elder stateswoman inside of our arts and culture. But to kind of see that baton be passed figuratively is amazing. To see an artist who was homegrown and developed here in Newark and comes from the arts high school and then went to Montclair State, to see them become a fully developed artist, and know that it was due to the efforts put forth by City Without Walls or Yendor. It's a beautiful thing to see. I really love that particular aspect. The community development part was put together in a mural education class. So not only did we engage with the Girl Scouts, but we engaged with community members as well. So anybody in the neighborhood could come during our paint days. If you could go to I think it's on the next slide. We had community paint days with local artists like Andres Brady, Matthew Purfoy was there, May Arts was there, and Mackenzie was there, Chantel McKenzie, another artist that really talks about women's empowerment through the lens of futurism. And we put all of these artists in one space inside of Achieve Academy on Clinton Ave, and invited the entire community out to have a paint day with us. And it was a beautiful thing. We spent an entire 8-hour day in the park, we even did some extra work of cleaning up the park and painting the back wall. And everybody there had the spirit of just wanting to see what redevelopment looks like. If you could go to the next slide. And this is a better view of the entire wall. I think it's a 125-foot wall by a story and a half. And it is the very back of the park connected to Achieve Academy. So it's a very beautiful thing. And I really love pieces like this where all of the different elements of what we do get to come together. We have a mural ed class. We open it up to community members. We partner with some good organizations that really understand the importance of imagination. I think sometimes when you're working on art projects, sometimes the imagination parts of it get lost because we want to put so much into the art that we kind of oversaturate it. But I think this piece really is a beautiful one, and it really plainly or eloquently explains what imagination looks like, all of the different realms of imagination and how it connects to educating young women. Okay, this next one, My Brother's Keeper. It was led by Steve Green, who is definitely a mentor of mine within Murals here in Newark. I always say that before I met Steve, I as an educator, I taught, I guess, a little harshly, like a college arts professor. And meeting Steve, it definitely taught me how to soften up in the classroom. And I think that it shows in his piece. The assistant artist is Malik Whitaker, another elder in the arts here that definitely took me under his wing as well. Malik was big in a lot of the different productions of art here in the city of Newark. He helped install probably half of the original set of murals here. And the partnership was between Rutgers, the city of Newark, Victoria Foundation, and My Brother's Keeper. So this piece in itself is a traditional parachute cloth piece. It was developed on Halsey Street in a vacant space, and it took Steve, I think, about 4 months to from start to finish. He had about a summer with in a youth center with about 8 different young men from the My Brother's Keeper initiative, and from those sketches and those ideas in that class, he brought it to life on canvas. It's 4 different parts into this mural. You know, the ribbons itself say, "We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal." A beautiful quote, something that resonates now with all of the social injustice going on within America. When you look at the piece in person, you can see inside the eyes that there's a view of Dr. King, there's a view of Barack Obama, and there's a view of young men standing together. On the top right corner, there are 2 young men holding hands. One man is pulling a young brother up, and I think that's what this entire initiative and this entire program was about. It was about artistry and community and brotherhood and learning the values of leadership. What does that look like inside our neighborhoods? It's located on Hawthorne and Chadwick in an abandoned space where the entire space is redeveloped. So the thoughts that Rodney had with this space was to create something that wasn't just a mural and a lot, but to create a space that can be used for communities, that arts organizations or nonprofits can create something and redevelop in space, but then give it over to a block association and allow them to program specifically for their communities. And I think we provide outlets like that all through the city of Newark, but this is I won't say a first of its kind, but a very special project of this kind for the South Ward and for Clinton Hill. This is just a great pic of Steve doing the work on the scaffolding, really putting the time in to make the piece perfect. Steve doesn't project. He doesn't. He's one of those guys who really depend on that eye-hand coordination. Most of his designs are old school, designed on paper with graphite and pencil and transfer paper. and he's like one of a kind. He's like the last of, I won't say a dying breed, but definitely a last of a particular type of artist, and he's really good and really fast at what he does. Peacock's Pride. The lead artist here is Jay Golden. It was sponsored. This was sponsored by Newark Public Schools and Victoria Foundation, Dodge Foundation. But I must say that this was Rodney Gilbert's very last mural. His last mural that he saw to completion. It was near and dear to his heart because, as Rodney would say, he grew up on Spruce Street, and and then he moved back to Spruce Street to have an office and a living space there. Most people know our office was on 30 Spruce Street for quite some time. And Rodney grew up in 90 Spruce Street, and he went to Quitman Street School. Can you go to the next slide, please, Lauren? Rodney went to Quitman Street School, and he also was a teacher there in the 90s. For a good amount of time, Rodney was an educator in this building, a building that he actually attended. So this mural, which was his last mural that he produced, was something near and dear to his heart. It was something that he put up a good portion of the funds for this mural to get it completed for us to teach in this class. We had a 8-week residency where we taught 2 days a week, myself and Jay Golden. The classes were led by myself, and the artwork was created by Jay. And we painted this in 2 weeks. It's a slide here where you see Jay inside the class with a handful of our students. We had about 25 students over the course of the 8 weeks, plus a community day where everybody in the housing tenements across the street could come and participate on a wall and participate in a gym with some of the stuff that we were doing. This was a great project and one of my favorites. Can you go to the next? Is that the last slide, Lauren?
I think that's it. Thank you so
All right.
much, Malcolm. I love the fact that you said Rodney's name so much. Rodney Gilbert is definitely part and parcel of this Newark arts community. He is sorely missed, and I'm thankful that he is definitely here in the atmosphere. So thank you so much, Malcolm. Next, thank you so much. We're gonna have a performance by the amazing oralist Mia X. We're not hearing it, Marcy. Hopefully this works.
I think it's because Marcy's muted.
Oh, Marcy, unmute, please.
When your words match your actions and you live by what you say.
Now we can't see it, Marcy. We need video.
See, I lay down and pressure to pray my tears solid from liquid, hard time years, aware. When your words match your actions and you live by what you say, when you become who you are after watching yourself decay. See, I lay down and pressure to pray my tears solid from liquid, hard time years, pushing aware away, still knowing, still waters run deep. And the branch looked down, and the river looked up, and the river said, you don't know how deep I run. Being, you gotta have something to believe in, or you'll waste away faster than ice. Who stuck to cover the price of the ticket? Born of mother and wine, wire, picket fences around free lottery drawing men, wicked with pensive stares, and the boulevard is so loud with neon colored peons. Dust where crowds should be, my people evaporating in history, vaporized between mysteries and asphalt splinters, bags, nips of gin, rappers, poles, laughing, Ritz, crackers, jazz, papers, and where do we go in the ground? How do do we make sound open to our music? Pray. Faith colors our soul, around our rugged roots we tree. Meanwhile, my soul is singing in the rain for a pen. I write intense bleak blueprints on dusty window panes, evidence of life's gift, perpetually wrapping a bow around all of our futures. Believe!
Thank you so much, Mia X. Thank you, Rebecca, I think, for getting that that video. We're so happy to have Mia as a part of this whole panel because throughout the quarantine, she has been interacting with public art in that way, going and doing poetry in front of various different murals and really keeping our spirits up in that way. So thankful to have her as a part of this. And it's great to see when your murals inspire other sorts of multidisciplinary art. So that's a beautiful thing. So thank you, Mia X. And speaking of Rebecca, we have our next panelist. Rebecca Pauline Jampol is a curator and designer dedicated to cultivating impactful social dialogue and change through her interdisciplinary creative praxis. Her predominant interest is in fostering discourse through a variety of projects, ranging from gallery work and publishing to public art programs. In 2013, Jampol began a long-term partnership in Newark, New Jersey with Jasmine Wahi of Project for Empty Space to create a series of pop-up exhibits at the Gateway Center in Newark. In 2015, Wahi and Jampol revamped their space into a mixed-use space that housed both Project for Empty Space and a plethora of artist studios. This third space endeavor has since become a community for multidisciplinary artists and a space for social discourse, activism, and change. In the past 5 years, Jampol has organized a number of Newark public art initiatives, including Portals Newark 2016, the Newark Downtown District's entryway program, Gateways to Newark 2016, Four Corners Public Arts 2019 to the present, and most recently, Mayor Raz Baraka's Community Ground Murals 2020.
Oh, hello.
Hi.
Thank you for the introduction. I'm actually coming in from Project for Empty Space in our new home in downtown Newark, inside of our library where we have amazing books by everybody, but more importantly, some of our local contributors. We have a copy of The Womb of Violet here too. But I'm really thrilled to be here with you guys today, and especially in conversation publicly with some of the most amazing local organizers and artists who I get to have backroom conversations about our dreams and our initiatives together. So it's nice to be in a public space with you guys and honored to be alongside. I'm gonna talk first a little bit about Four Corners Public Arts, which is a bit of a newer initiative. I'll give a little bit of a history on this, but similar to the Gateways to Newark project that I did in 2016, it was a big production effort that brought together many artists to make alongside of each other. The Gateways to Newark, which I'm sure many of you have driven down, but if you haven't, it's 18 murals that take up 1.34 miles of McCarter Highway. And those murals went up together alongside of each other with 18 artists, 36 assisting artists, and over 100 volunteers from the community. And so these projects, while they are big production efforts, there's a lot of planning and building beforehand, but also there's an organic community building that happens while they go up. Because we're all working together and creating a support structure together. These two projects I hold very near and dear to my heart. Four Corners Public Arts actually was initiated it happened in 2019, but it was initiated in 2018. It takes place on Treat Place in downtown Newark and Beaver Street. And those spaces, although they're in the very core of downtown, have been traditionally treated as alleyways. And they kind of fall off the maintenance path. The buildings are kind of derelict. The Treat Place in particular is the back end of Broad Street. And so while Broad Street end is attended to, the back end is mostly boarded up and is in pretty poor condition. And there's trees growing out, which you can actually see from the edge of this picture. And so the community brought some concerns to Invest Newark, which was at the time Newark's CDEC. And the residents of the area, as well as small business owners, asked if something could be done about these spaces. They are in the core of our downtown. They're frequently traveled. And more recently, Teachers Village was developed. And so there's 400 residential units on Treat Place, as well as over 1,000 children coming daily to the charter schools that have newly planted roots in those areas. And Invest Newark at that time brought together a partnership that was really interested in investing in these areas. Many of these partners, which I'll list in a moment, they have a history of supporting the arts in Newark, including Newark Arts, who is the host of this panel, as well as the Arts Festival that we're kicking off with you guys today. And so what they wanted to do was take funding that was positioned to clean up these areas and for facade redevelopment, and position it creatively to our creative community. And so the project was brought to me in the summer of 2019 with a pretty hard turnaround time, I will say that. In a couple months, we spent a lot of time meeting and which seems like such a far off idea right now, having community meetings where we would all be together and just sharing ideas about what this street could be. This was really an instrumental moment, I think, in my career as an organizer, as I sat alongside of other organizers from the community, and we all talked about what we wanted to see in our public art programs. And so from that, we created a list of ideas of things that we wanted to see in these spaces. And one of the biggest things that came out of it was representation and opportunities. And so working in a historic district, we knew we had a mandate to create work that was about the history, but as a collective, as a cohort of artists and organizers, we decided that we wanted to retell that history in a way that represented the faces of our community and the leadership and the elders and the history of our creative community. And so an RFP went out pretty shortly after. Again, this was a very fast turnaround. And from that RFP, a jury selected 14 artists and organizations to move forward with murals. And so this is an incredible image of those artists and organizations. But if you don't mind, if we go back to the last slide, I just like to say out loud who they were. We have a Wuma Violet Collective, and we saw the mural that was led by Director Shakur and an incredible group of Black women poets and visual artists from the area. And they worked with LeBeaux, Nuna Yar, and Kelly Pravard to execute that mural. Armisi Smith, the Barat Foundation, alongside of Sue Daly, Daniela Politi, Irini Lernadaki, who worked in collaboration with Discovery Charter School, Gabe Ribeiro, who most of you guys know as the Newark Project, Jira Himid, who actually worked with his partner Hawkson, Joel Lopez, Manuel Acevedo, who worked directly with Jerry Gantz's estate and Pink Dragon Artist Syndicate, who was Linda Street, Nancy Salem and Patricia Carzola, Noelle Lorraine Williams, and the Rorschach Art Collective, who is also on this panel today. And the partnership includes the City of Newark, Newark Arts, Newark Downtown District, Invest Newark, RBH Group, and Paramount Assets. And so we can go to the next one. So this image we took right before we got to work. Again, I'm just going to reiterate the fast turnaround time. We all came into the street together, partners, artists, our families. You can see me here with my nearly 1-year-old little girl, Manuel with his 2 boys, Nancy with her wife, my husband's there, Noelle with her partner, the Womb of Violet Collective with their family. We all just came into the street to kind of just be together and take an image before we got to work and just get excited about the project. Also, the partnership is here. Some of our sponsors, Sherwin-Williams, who basically we couldn't have done this without them. They donated over 250 gallons of paint to the effort, along with things that are instrumental to making murals happen on this type of pace, like application tools, paint sprayers, the whole 9 yards, you name it, they sponsored it. Yeah, and we just came here together to take this image before we commenced the work. And we could go to the next slide. So it's hard to put this project into a selection of images, but I did my best. I mean, the biggest thing I just want to emphasize is this idea of us working alongside of each other. Over here, we have Daniela in the top left-hand corner, Daniela Politi working on her welcome quilt, which was comprised of an intersectional skin palette and as well as a number of colors and quilting squares from the Newark Museum's Quilt Archive to create this quilt of inclusivity that when you enter the street, it says welcome, all are welcome. Here in the middle, we have Joelle Lopez and Armisi Smith working on 2 murals that talk about the history of the Lenape here in Newark. To the right, we have a picture of the Womb of Violet Collective with their publication that came out earlier in the year that brought them together and inspired this collaborative work, which not only was infused in this mural, but in many other projects that they did together and they do together. Himid and Hoxton in the left-hand corner, Arini Lernadaki on the ground, working through a piece about cultural fabric. And then in the right-hand side, Discovery Charter School children jumping up and down before they created collages that then wrap a temporary mural on Beaver Street. We can go to the next slide. And here are a few more images. And again, it's hard to put this project into a few selected images, but you can just see process and people working alongside of each other. The Rorschach Collective in the left-hand side, tag teaming this beautiful mural Radiance that they'll talk about a little bit more later. Himid and Hoxton creating a stencil out of 800 letter size pieces of paper, which they then adhered and made the beautiful mural that sits on the corner of Treat Place and Branford Street that talks about migration. Nancy and Patricia working on Beaver Street. Jira looking back at her mural that talks about water and the significance of that in Newark. And then Gabe in the left-hand corner with the Newark is for Artists mural that just kind of, I always said this was like a quiet whisper about what the project was all about. So these images really capture the energy of this project. One thing I wanted to talk about is what we're going to do in the next phase. We erected 14 murals, but we want to continue to work on this project for years to come. One thing that we really learned from the Womb of Violets mural was how engagement can take many different forms and how it can be strategic and really impact so many people. That mural in particular was conceptualized by 15 brilliant women that are not necessarily, or not all of them identify as muralists, but it was their work in the beginning that really allowed the collaboration to unfold with 2 other amazing muralists, LeBeaux and Kelly, as well as the community who wanted to be a part of erecting this mural with figures, women that meant so much to our community, but also some of the programming and images that happen afterwards. So in the next phase of this, we just had an RFP close. We asked for proposals that mandated that type of engagement, and asked for strategy upon partnering with different groups. So if you're not necessarily a muralist, but you have something to offer to a public contribution, you can be a part of this making. So I wanted to highlight one of the murals from the Four Corners project, just because there's other people that have been a part of it on this panel, and we'll get to hear about some of the other ones. But To Be Seen was a really important mural for this project. It was done by Noelle Lorraine Williams, who actually has been doing work on Treat Place for over 10 years, and documenting it way before we came together and decided to do this project. And she collaborated with Stafford Woods to do a series of performative pieces that she documented in the space that we use for our headquarters. So having her be a part of this project after she had engaged in the area 10 years prior was really special to us, and I hope to her as well. And so her piece, To Be Seen, if we want to go to the next slide. This piece is about visibility, and her work in particular is talking about African-American women's stories, historical stories, and what that means to us now. And so these images were taken of women in photography studios that were near Tree Place and on Springfield Avenue. And she actually, a year prior to making this piece of work, had been doing research for her work that she's presently doing for the Centennial at the Newark Public Library. And so she had actually been on the hunt for images of women that had been photographed at that time. And she had purchased these 4 images that were no more than 3 inches high. And in an attempt to talk about visibility and representation, blew them up very large. We had them printed on polytab, and they've been now illuminated in these special spaces to talk about the visibility of these women, of Black women in this area. And we can go to the next one. And then this project is on Edison Place and is not related to Four Corners, but I think it's very important in this moment as we are in an election year, and we are also in the 100th year commemorating the ratification of the 19th Amendment. We had been talking with Director Shakur about a mural on our new home at Project for Empty Space that spoke to our mission, which very much aligns with the work that they're doing through the social justice public art program. And Gracelyn Haynes had just who is a Project for Empty Space studio member, had just actually done an interview and created a piece of artwork that was on the August 3rd and 10th issue of the New Yorker. If we could switch to the next page, which you see on the right. And when this piece came out, we all kind of had a moment, we're like, this is what the mural should be. As we are in an election year and we are talking about the importance of one's vote, we look to Sojourner Truth, who did not unfortunately live to see the 19th Amendment, but who worked very hard to make it possible. And so as we are in this year, we just want to emphasize the power of one person's vote, and also look to, again, in terms of visibility, making space to commemorate those that have worked so hard for what we have now. And so this 30-foot portrait of Sojourner Truth looks across Edison Place, and this was not planned, but it's directly across from the Prudential Center, which is a super polling place for Newark. And so this is the most recent mural that I've had the pleasure to be a part of, with the support of the city, from Director Shakur, from our mayor, and with my partner, Jasmine Wahi at Project for Empty Space.
Thank you so much, Rebecca. I am personally so excited for phase 2 of Four Corners. That project, it just really lit up that entire area of downtown. And I know there's like people even, it's become a destination. People are coming internationally and wanting to see the Four Corners project. So congratulations to all the artists. And I'm excited for when that announcement will be made on the next phase. All right, so we're going to Rorschach Art Collective. Rorschach Art Collective is comprised of Andre Leon and Robert Ramon, two artists that are natives to Newark, New Jersey. Like other inner city kids from around the world, their focus is solely on circumventing the obstacles set against them. They are both from deeply rooted immigrant Latino households and, despite not being bonded by blood, formed a connection at a young age. Their work is a true collaboration, a collective focus to create work that has the potential to uplift and empower others. Thank you so much for being here, Andre and Robert.
Hello. How are you guys doing?
Thank you.
Hi.
Thank you for having us. Andre, you want to talk first? Or want me to talk? We're both in separate locations right now, so we're usually together when we talk. But thank you for having us. It's fun to talk about what we what we're trying to represent here, what we're trying to push for all our projects, and continuously keep the same theme. So to be able to talk about it and like the past projects that we've done in Newark is pretty awesome. So once again, thank you guys for real. Thank you, Rebecca. Thank you all you guys. Even getting to meet Malcolm and stuff. Like everyone in this circle right now, it's been awesome and a pleasure to really meet you guys for real. And let me sip my pretend martini. But you guys can hear me, right? I'm good?
Yeah,
Okay.
you're good.
Okay. Go ahead, Andre. Take it off.
Okay. I'm not good at speaking too much. I'm good at painting stuff and, letting you guys figure out what it means to you. But with Radiance, we actually painted this for the Four Corners initiative that Rebecca's responsible for, which we were honored to be part of. It was fun to kind of get together with so many people and kind of see everybody's process and how they painted. It was truly nice to have that kind of networking opportunity. As far as this particular piece, Radiance was kind of our, I guess, to kind of like paint like a Marilyn Monroe type of model or muse or whatever, but in the form of a woman of color, because most of our paintings focus on kind of breaking out of that standard European beauty standards that there's a lot of present in artwork and fine art overall, because I'm a fan of traditional and Baroque type paintings and stuff like that, as opposed to Rob, he's mainly focused on graffiti and a lot of modern and abstract art. So when we paint together, we kind of fuse those two together. And since our main drive when we paint is aesthetics, we wanted to paint things that we love and people that have meant a lot to us growing up. So that being women of color, mainly Black and Latino women, since they've been the people that have raised us and people that we've grown up loving and being a part of our lives. So this particular piece, this woman is supposed to kind of represent Newark and the radiance that it represents to us. She's bold, she's multidimensional, she's breaking out, she's looking into the sun. And even though there's a lot of dark, there's a lot of contrasting light. And yeah, that was kind of the basic idea behind it. Rob, you got anything else to add to that?
Yeah, I always, anytime we got stopped while painting this, it was awesome to talk to people and kind of see, that's mostly what we love about painting, is just letting people explain to us what they think we're painting, which is awesome. It's fine. To get the different ideas from people and the different like what they envisioned this piece being was, it was all over the place, but it was awesome because I got to hear different minds speak and how much they loved the piece, but yet they saw something else that we didn't. So a lot of what Rorschach, we do is we paint things, but we leave a lot of interpretation. So you can look at this piece, and it's simple. It's a woman looking into the sun in different dimensions, but when you ask for someone for a story or what they think, like for instance, this to me, this is a woman in a dance club. She's just focusing on herself. She's just having fun. She's just forgetting about the work week. Like all these, beautiful stories that you kind of create by looking at these pieces, is kind of what drives us, and also like our representation of each piece of who we're painting and what we're painting. So to have the opportunity to paint Radiance was an amazing opportunity. It was an amazing time too, because we got to stand with artists, paint different styles, different approaches, and to see, what people go through to paint their murals, and for people to see how we paint our murals. And kind of like what Malcolm was speaking on, it's like, it's hard to get people to just freehand stuff now, So for us in Rorschach, we freehand everything, and we let the mistakes happen. We let the frustration happen, but then at the end of the day, we know what we want to create. We wanted to create something beautiful, something that represents the Latina women, the Afro-Latina women, the African-American women of this city and any city. If you could just Google this and look it up, I want someone to feel connected to this piece if they're in California or in Denver or wherever. But that's the whole idea, I believe, of Rorschach as we go, keep painting these murals.
Oh, this is Undaunted, which is actually it's Unwavering and Undaunted, which is actually two murals in one. But we'll speak more about the Undaunted part, which is a mural specifically in dedication to Jasmine Mans, which is a Newark poet that actually we're very cool with. We actually went to school with her.
High school,
yeah, we went to high school with her. So we didn't know her in high school per se. We always knew of her, and to kind of grow up separately and kind of like converging now in our careers, kind of established, and seeing how far we've both come separately is awesome. So we wanted to paint her along with Grizel del Valle, which is she's a Puerto Rican singer. She tours all over the world with a bunch of big names in the Latin community, and she's also from Newark. So we wanted to paint two women from Newark that are representing their city everywhere they go, and in different ways. Which is cool about this is that we incorporated a lot of Jasmine's poems within the piece that you can't really see when you take a photo of it. You have to actually go there and see it. And I commend Robert for actually getting that done in that way. I don't know how you can really do that. I'm not really good with letters and stuff, but he is. So he was, Rob, you want to talk about that actually?
Yeah. These two women were a big inspiration in how I went about creating the design with Andre. There's a lot of bursting, there's a lot of like shattering. And I also wanted to incorporate what these women represented. If you look at Chachi, Griselda, she's on the left, the left top side. She's kind of like in a triangle, in a bunch of weird shapes that are bursting. Probably don't make sense, but if when you talk to me a little bit, she's hidden in a Puerto Rican flag. You don't see it, but it's there. You know what I mean? Like the triangles, the shapes. Jasmine Mann's poetry is in those strips, those red strips that are there. And all throughout the mural, there's words in the black background. We have a technique that we like to use, and it's just basically black on black. And we have a lot of fun with it. A lot of hidden stuff can be put in this stuff, please, and in plain sight, and once you take the picture, you just see the mural, see the faces, it looks beautiful. But then when you step closer, you'll see love, you'll see women, you'll see respect, you'll see words from Jasmine Mans, even even how I felt during the time, like, I put love your mothers, love your sisters, you know what I mean? And on the left side, we put like a quote that Chachi had put up one day on her post. And it was just, it was a beautiful post about like, talking about her, being weak, but yet being strong, So anytime we paint a mural, we try to have our muse be very involved in the piece without really having them there or having them even know. Because Jasmine didn't know, Chachi didn't know we were going to paint them. This was more of our element that we add to, it's an element of surprise, almost as a gift to these women. Like, look, this is what all you have done. This is what is come about from us, saying all the achievements that they've accomplished, is greatly represented by them in these pieces, like breaking through the molds, breaking through like, the tough city, you know what I'm saying? So I had a great time with this piece. This is our first commissioned piece in Newark. We painted 2 pieces in Newark prior, just on our own, having fun at Abington. And this piece, I thank, like, obviously the mayor, but also Chief Aziz. He really helped us out. Keith Hamilton, I consider him a good friend, and he's a great guy. He's always like looked us out, and he kind of saw us and saw what we had in the pocket. And definitely thank the city, definitely thank him, thank you guys for continuously talking to us and making us paint more stuff. As Andre and I are always breaking our heads trying to paint something new, trying to have fun. But when it comes to painting with groups and stuff like this, it becomes like the best day at work, if you could say that,
Yeah.
Abington Walls. If we jump straight into Abington Walls, Abington Walls is separate from Rorschach. Rorschach is strictly, we're artists, we're a collective, we're a movement, whatever you want to consider us as, we're a unit. Abington Walls is my baby. It's a whole nother entity. But Andre has helped immensely. I'd say Livingston has helped, Caress has helped. Ashley from, what was this place called where she worked?
Express.
Yeah, Ashley from Express Newark have helped this place become more, I would say, professional, and it's more in the eyes. It's been brought to your eyes. Like the fact that I get to speak about Abington at this event is just it's an honor to me, because when I started in 2014, I just wanted a place where artists could paint freely, with some restrictions. We're not just going to paint all the crazy stuff, but things that they're going to help the kids in the neighborhood, the certain cartoon characters or certain characters that they don't even know anymore, and certain themes like Halloween themes, Christmas themes. So this is smack dab in the neighborhood of Abington Avenue. If you just keep this frame right here, well, that right there is a block party that we kind of try to throw pre-COVID, that we try to throw every year. And we do a couple barbecues, very small number of barbecues, and just gathering. There's a place of gathering for artists, writers, creatives, great networking place when we do gather. And I'm the curator for this space, so I'm always willing to work with artists of any caliber that would like to paint there. I've had guys come from Europe. I've had guys come from Germany, Spain. I've had guys travel from Philly, from Maryland, just to paint in Newark and, express themselves and paint their graffiti the way they want. So to have a place like this, it's rare, because this is like an inspiration of, if you've ever heard of 5 Points in Queens, this is an inspiration from them. And there's also another hidden place in Newark that has like a free for all graffiti, but come with quality work. That they inspired me. They kind of groomed me to understand how it is to be responsible for a building, for even a little bit of a neighborhood. So we took Abington, we cleaned it, we we painted the walls. If you look in the background where the kid is, there's like a pink gate with a blue wall. That wall, we don't paint on it. We just have like we just paint it plain colors, just so nobody does graffiti on it. So we kind of like, we're trying to manage the area with the community, the artists, with my friends like Andre. You know, this is a big group effort, but it's been awesome for the past, I believe, 5 years, where I'm finally at a place where I get to speak about my home. You know, I get to speak about Abington. You know, this place, I just come there and paint. If you look at the top right, that's one of the pieces I did. Bottom left, I did that piece as well. So it's a good place to practice, you know, have fun, you know, do clean work. And yeah, the community loves it, you know. So I'm glad I get to talk about it today, honestly.
Thank you so much. I feel like so blessed to have you guys here because I know you guys like to keep it incognito, you know, as you can see, and just let the work speak for itself. But it's so great to hear what you guys have to say about the process. And I love your contributions to art. And I didn't know that was Chachi. I met her last year around this time at the Culture Collective. So that's awesome.
Yeah.
All right, so before we get into Q&A, I just have thank you guys for being here and for you know, letting us in on all of those stories and projects. So I want to ask you all this same question. We actually got a really good question from an attendee, and the question is, I'm curious, how do artists feel about their work being on buildings or spaces that may be redeveloped and have their work possibly destroyed or moved? I know that's a big consideration when you're doing public work. So I would love for each of you to answer that question.
I really enjoyed working with Rebecca on the Four Corners personally and learning more about that process because that question did come up. And she was so diligent in creating a contract and maintenance plans and agreements between property owners and the city and even the Historic Landmarks Commission so that everyone had an agreement or understanding about how long that work would be protected and allowed to remain. So best practice for any artist is to have those conversations up front before you commit to anything.
Yeah, I think I could chime in a little bit here. I mean, we're working in a space that is presently, well, maybe not so much this moment, but before COVID being rapidly developed, and you know, there's a shift happening. And so like Director Shakur said, best practices is to have an agreement in place and to have communication with the owner of the building. I feel like sometimes when you walk, I feel like everybody wants a mural, but when you talk about a mural and the labor that goes into it, both the working towards developing something that can be enjoyed and the community can be invested in and also respect and take care of, the owner of the building also has to kind of understand what goes into it and also what it means to have something like that on their building. There should be care for it and maintenance. When you care for a piece of artwork, so will the people that work around it and walk past it daily. And so there needs to be education alongside of contracting these projects, not just for us as organizers and artists, but also for the building owner. And just, we have to have patience with them as well, you know? Some beautiful things can happen out of that. Of course, somebody told me a long time ago that when you put work out into the public, it becomes the public's. And so there are things that can happen. Buildings can be redeveloped when ownership shifts happen. Buildings can be built up in front of murals, which, you know, that's a lot to handle. That is like kind of out of your, I guess, when you do that diligence with the owner, you know, you might not be able to control that. And so I guess my position is to try to, you know, have some sort of best practice and then also realize that you're giving something to the public as well.
Thank you. There's a question came through for the Rorschach brand. Does Jasmine know about the mural?
Yeah, yes, she does, but we kept it from her the whole time. And when we finally I think when we finally finished it, she found it on her own. Am I right, Andre? Am I wrong?
I think she came up on, like, I think her like aunt or
Yeah,
something,
her
or
mother.
somebody in the fam like rolled up on it. They were like, "Yo, is that Jasmine?"
Yeah,
And then they called her up and told her about it, and then we just happened to like announce it or reveal it or whatever. So it was pretty cool to have that kind of response from her directly, along with, you know, the
and
community.
we connected like even more. Like, you know, we ran into each other at a couple events. You know, we all like hung out for a little bit. So it was cool for her to not know, because we wanted to add that element of surprise. Um, Most of the muses really love it. One time, one girl was like, "Why would you paint me?" And then we kind of had to explain it to her. But other than that, everyone loves when we paint them, just because like it's a surprise. And at the end of the day, we're not like benefiting from painting someone. We're just painting them because we love what they do and we love what we do. So we want that to go hand in hand. So that's kind of like where we want to go forward. But yeah, she didn't know. Nope, she did not.
That's awesome. Okay, question from Malcolm. How do you use art as a tool of resistance versus just artistic expression?
Okay. How do you use it as resistance? I think innately the work that we do is resistance, and I guess the resistance is blight. I guess it's blight. We go to neighborhoods and really see where things have been devastated through the crisis, right? I think the first crisis in the city was really like the recession. We lost a lot of properties, a lot of homes were affected, especially in the West and the South Ward through the recession. A lot of homeowners lost their places. So you kind of address that, right? You address the need to fix those things. And it starts with the art. Redevelopment in the city is a big conversation right now, but it can't happen without the arts. None of the development in the city or the interest in the city can really happen without the arts, and that conversation has to start with some due diligence, right? Of what does the community want to represent them. I think that's how we resist a lot of things. We start with an honest conversation of what does it take for us to love ourselves in our own space. And that's pretty much how we've always approached it. That was what we learned from Rodney, and that's the thing that we kind of continue to do right now is go into spaces that need the love and the help and the resources and ask what would you like to do instead of kind of and put your own impressions on it. So that's where we start at always.
That's so important. That's so important. And Mia X joined us. Mia, are you here? Can you join us and tell us a little bit about your process? We did see your amazing video and spoken word in front of the mural. Can you tell us why you decided to do that during the quarantine?
Hey, you guys. Oh, I'm enjoying the conversation. Thanks for having me. You can hear me, right? You can hear
Yes.
me?
Mm-hmm.
I love the way I sound outside. I said I needed to get in the North air. When Corona happened, I was very scared and going through so much, but I had a shift and I was just like, my art has helped me through everything else, so I'm gonna use it right now. And I wanted to go on tour in my own city. You know, I just felt like it was places that I wanted to see. Um, and I just, I needed to get outside and I needed to be next to the arts, next to the walls. A lot of them I have personal connections with because I work with Rodney. I was doing community liaison work and helping to organize a lot of the volunteers. So it was like personal for me. And then it's just beautiful. So I feel like I wanted to match with some of the visual arts. And I wanted to share my poems. So I'm happy that I did. And a lot of people got something from it. So, I was just trying to make myself feel some type of way. Like I need, just to express. But a lot of people felt a lot of positivity from my sharing. So I'm very happy. I always love to add. So, and it's beautiful work. It's beautiful work. Like a Mary Baraka, come on. Like I gotta go talk in front of that wall, like the butterflies, we in a transformation. If it's a butterfly wall, I want to be there because I'm representing something else. So it was like, it was kind of personal, but it was larger than me. So
Yes.
thank y'all.
Yes.
I had fun.
Thank you so much. And please tell everybody how they can follow you on social. And with all the panelists, please put your @ in the chat so that our attendees can follow your work.
Yes, I'll do that. Thank you.
Thank you so much. So we're going to close here. Thank you so much to our beautiful, wonderful panelists, the Rorschach Art Collective, Bayami Shakur, we have Rebecca Jampol, we have Malcolm A. Rowling. Thank you, Executive Director Jeremy Johnson is here. Mia X, thank you for stopping through. Shout out to Mercy, who's making all the tech things happen. I want to invite everybody to meet us at 6 o'clock. We'll be on Facebook Live for Jersey Fresh Open Mic. The festival continues. You can find out more at newarkartsfestival.com. And again, this is Martinis and Murals presents. So we are doing a bit of day drinking. It's 5 o'clock somewhere. So cheers to everybody. Thank you for being here. Cheers.
Cheers.
Cheers. Bye, guys.
Bye.
Cheers.
Thank you.
Love you, Fire.